don't need a degree. Yeah, I said it. By the way, this I know might be a very tough conversation, but there must be somebody who is out there telling you the truth. You don't need a degree. But I'm not saying that if you're in a university pursuing a degree, you should drop out just because Good Joseph said that. But the reality is, okay, you people, you're trying to bury your head into the sand. But the reality is shouting to their rooftops that you don't need a degree in 2025. We are in the era of AI. Today, right now, as we speak, today, if I decide to become the best of the best graphic designer, I will become. If today I decide to become one of the best camera person who operates all those gears about the production, for example, I produce videos for myself. I've never went to any class to study this about production, how to set a microphone, how to set the lighting, how to edit the videos after here. I have never went to any school to study this thing. And I remember back when I was in university, we used to study with guys who were schooling or doing, I don't know, it was called the mass communication and media and something like that. Another trend that you can see, for example, I don't know whether it is actually popular in your country. My country, I've actually looked at it and I realized one thing. These people who are becoming popular, they are trending people. They are the people who are getting job in the mainstream media rather than the guys who went to university to study about the media and mass production and mass communication, something like that. So you're like, here there is a company, you have two options. Let's say you are a company here and you are a mainstream media. You have a company here. Here there is an individual who is trending all over. This guy knows everything about finances, or this guy is a comic guy, is just a funny guy. And then there is a guy who has a degree on. So which one would you employ on a very serious note? Because the people, they usually employ these people who are trending because they know they will come with their masses. Because these people have followers. This guy is followed by over 2 million people. They are like, if you bring this guy, probably even if you will not get all the 2 million, but at least half of those guys will follow this guy to where he works. And of course, we have more attention. And where the attention is, remember, right now as we speak, attention is the new currency. Let me put it on the board. Don't forget this. Put it down there. Put it on your paper. Attention is the new currency. Attention is the new currency. Attention is the new currency. What does it mean? Nowadays, things are happening online. Let's go back to our point. You don't need a degree in 2025 henceforth. Why am I saying this? Because on a very serious note, degree is becoming less useless, less useful, and less useful. The only degrees that I think you need and you have to go to school to study, one is medicine. This if you want to become a doctor. Two, if you want to become an engineer. Three, if you want to become a pilot. You can't study these things online. You can't go to ChatGPT and start learn about how to do an operation. I mean, you can't do that. These are things that you have to go to school to study. If you are doing this one, it's okay. You can go study them. But otherwise, anything outside these three areas, I'm telling you, you really don't need to go to the university to study those things. And that is a fact. I know parents here will fight me from A to Z, but the fact remains you don't need a degree in 2025. Personally, I said personally. And most people will attest who are here. I have never used my own degree. My degree is actually under the bed. Literally, it's under the bed. I've never used it. It has never given me any food. Sure, you may argue, Joseph, that's why you can speak good English, Joseph. True, but I was not there I wasn't doing literature. That's a fact. I wasn't there to do literature. I was there, but I remember my first degree I was doing is medical research. I was doing that and I was hoping the medical research will actually give me food and fact. So the fact remains we have a lot of people who are getting out of universities and there are no jobs. Or should I say, there are limited opportunities to get the jobs. And that's why we have a very creative Gen Z in our society. These guys, they have studied, they are so smart, but they are nowhere. And that's why they're doing very funny things on the internet. The point I'm trying to drive home is this. If you are in university pursuing a degree, it's okay. You go ahead and pursue the degree, but know this at the back of your head. That what you're pursuing as a degree on its own, it does not stand the shocks of the economies in our country, and not only in our country, but globally. You have to have some other things on top of that. You have to add other things on top of that. By the way, let me ask a question. Let's say you want to become a very good guy who makes furniture. Would you prefer to go to university to study about furniture and books and how to make, or would you prefer to go pay somebody who already have a very nice, good workshop where almost everyone goes by? For example, in Kenya, we have a guy who called Modern Furniture and Pacific, something like that. He sells chairs and something like. Kenyans know who I'm talking about. This is a guy who is known to sell furniture in Kenya. Would you prefer to go pay Nairobi University to study a degree for 4 years, how to make a very nice recliner, or would you prefer to go to that particular industry, pay those guys or those, what do you call guys who make carpenter? Who would you, sometimes I ask myself those questions. Who would you prefer? Let me ask a question. You want to start a business. Would you prefer to go to a professor who teaches business, or would you prefer to go to a successful guy who is running a business actively? Who would you go for when you want to start a business? That's what I usually ask myself. Where did we get things wrong? That's why when I tell people you really don't, I know probably back in 1970s, 1960s, and 1930s, and whatever, and 1980s, and probably early 1990s, if you had a degree, you are good to go, especially in Kenya. But nowadays, things are becoming. Are we together? So, for example, I have a guy who I'm employed to edit my videos time to time. I didn't even ask the guy whether he went to university to study about things. I didn't even care. I told the guy, can you edit? Yes, I can edit. Fine. I send you the footage. You edit that. I see what you can do. And the guy edited. And I was like, good. We are in business. I don't care whether you have a degree. Can you get the work done? Yes, you can get the work done. Fine. Thank you. We are moving. That is the point is about, and that's why when I tell guys, go buy a course and study something. Then they ask me, oh, if I go to Udemy and buy a course, if I get the certificate, where will I get the certificates? Because you are possessed with the papers. Because you are going to study a skill with the mentality of a job seeker. That's why you're asking for the papers. Nowadays, we're in the era whereby you only need to prove that you can get the work done. That's all. And there is a guy whom I follow a lot on new TikTok. He's called Elvis. This guy talks about, how to make website, how to make coding, how to do this guy, he didn't even study those things. I think the guy studied procurement. But the guy is so good. He's actually charging premium on his website. How to make those, he's charging premium. But he's a guy who actually opened his eyes. Actually, I think he's a Gen Z, if I'm not wrong. The thing is, the era that we are in, my friend, please don't confine yourself to the cocoon of degrees. And nowadays, I see parents taking their kids to universities very happy in Africa and saying like, hey, you know what, my kid now is getting a degree. Sometimes you feel like, oh my goodness, I really wish they know what they are going for. I really wish they know. I wish they were to sit down these kids and tell them, sure, I'm taking you to do a degree, but just listen, this is not enough. This won't pay your bills. It will never pay your bills. That's a fact. And if it will, then you must be very lucky among the lucky guys who are out there. So what you're supposed to understand when it comes to degree, gone are the days where degree meant everything. And people tend to be like, okay, fine, maybe if I go back and do masters, maybe I'll be that place. No, you're doing the same thing, expecting a different result. That's why I'm saying you really don't need a degree. That's a fact. You really don't need it. You need a practical skills. You need the skills that people will trade. For example, right now, do you know you can start a company all the way from scratch? With all the AIs that we have in Kenya, not even in Kenya, globally, with all the AIs, nowadays you can even produce. I saw someone who is actually making music videos. Is it music video? Someone who is making music using the AI. He can sing, he can dance. The guy doesn't even have a talent about that. And he has a whole YouTube behind that thing. And they are making videos. They are making... You can actually do a lot of things when it comes to the AI that you have. Guys, don't bury your head into the sand. We're in an era whereby, okay, sure, you may argue that you need a degree because it will teach you how the social life is, to interact with people, blah, blah, blah. True, you have a point. But the fact still remains that degree right now as we speak, it may not be that necessary as you thought. It may not be that necessary. You may not need it as you think you need it. Did I say you quit if you are pursuing one? No, I did not say that. So it is good when, you see, during our time when we were going to university, nobody was there to tell us the truth. For example, I passed a lot when I was in high school. I didn't even know that the degree I was going to pursue, it may not necessarily pay. I didn't know. So be careful on what you are pursuing, and please don't inbox me asking me which is the best career to pursue, or which one was. And there is this question that people ask me. Some people ask at which one is the best, degree to pursue. Which one is more marketable than the, no, forget about those things. It's gone. There's nothing like this one is more marketable than the other. I have people who have pursued medicine, they're still outside, they don't have a job. I have people who have pursued engineering, they are all over tamarking. I have people who are on pilot, they don't have a job, they just, or they studied the aviation school. So forget about, please, oh my goodness. Asking me, oh Joseph, which one is the most marketable career and course to study? There's nothing, change. There's nothing like that. Are you yourself marketable? Are you marketable? You yourself, are you marketable? What do you have? Assuming that there were no universities or colleges, how will you be beneficial to the society? You yourself, what do you understand? There are people who naturally are born with the charisma, the aura, the confidence. They can speak, they can talk, they can educate, they can inspire, they can entertain. Because in the world, you only need to have three things. Just three things, and you make money. You either inspire, you entertain, or you educate. You're done. For example, I'm educating people. Reason why you're thinking to take this number of mine to contact me is because you've actually checked the number of my videos and you've seen my consistency. You'll be like, you know what? If I contact this guy might help me in one way or the other because I've been tested by the time. Society, you either educate the society, you inspire the society, or you entertain the society. That is the only way society is ready to pay you. But now you go to university, neither can you entertain, you cannot educate, you cannot inspire, but you feel entitled. You want to be paid. By who? And for what reason? Or because I know some things, I know how the cosmic science works, and who needs that? Who is ready to pay you to know why the sky is blue? Who needs that? Some of the information is irrelevant, and I have some guys who studied, I don't know, atomic science and whatever. In Kenya, we don't even have anything to do with the nuclear. If you go to outside country, probably yes, you can. But what does it? See, all the embassies in the Western countries, they have closed embassies. They are denying visas for the, not really per se denying, but they are offering very limited opportunities. Very limited. How many of you have ever walked into an embassy of any so-called first world countries, and they gave you a denial for visas? They don't even want you to go there, and of which they have the right to. It's like that poor kid in the neighborhood. Not everyone would like you to go there because, of course, they see troubles and problems coming in. And to some extent, it's true. But the moment you put your house in order, you become wealthy, everyone will open the doors for you. That's why you find somebody from Britain can just go into America in any way. That's why you see South Africa opened doors for Kenya recently. We can now go to South Africa visa free. South Africans can come to Kenya visa free. So the point is, guys, please stop hooking on to the old traditions and thinking that degrees will solve all your problems and it has to be this particular degree. I even see people selling assets such as lands to go and take their kids to universities. Then the kid come back home. Anyway, I hope I got the message. I hope you guys got the message. And I hope you're going to do something. And I know there's somebody who didn't even understand what I meant on this video. I know he'll say, hey, Joseph, why are you telling people not to go to school? Because that's what he ticks. And that's what you got in this video. And that's not what I said. Anyway, see you in the next one.